Hey, this is George with the New Hunter's Guide. Today I want to share my story with you guys. The story of a non-hunter who became a hunter. And it's not just my story, it's a story that's inspired many others who were non-hunters to become hunters. Some of those folks were people that have never hunted anything before, never walked into the woods after game, and now, because of this story and what came out of it, they found themselves in the woods for the first time, pursuing and chasing and taking game. For some folks, they've hunted maybe a certain kind of game their whole life, but they've never gone after something else. And now, because of this story, they were inspired and equipped to go after and pursue other types of game. You see, it started for me in my late 20s, which was not all that long ago. I had grown up, I'd never hunted, never had a chance to hunt, never had the opportunity to hunt, had no one in my family that ever hunted, never had anyone close to me that hunted, didn't have any close friends or relationships with people that hunted, at least none that ever gave me the opportunity to go. But ever since I can remember, I was fascinated with hunting. As a kid, I'd hear people talk about hunting, and to me it sounded like this mythical pursuit of a faraway land, some kind of a dream. But it was never anything that I was close to or I was able to touch. And that didn't bother me so much. Growing up, I had lots of things I was occupied with, different hobbies, sports, things of that nature. But after I got out of school, after I got married, I settled in, I got working. Then I found myself in a position where I had no hobbies. I had work, I had my family, I had church, and that was pretty much everything that was in my life. And I will never forget, I was sitting at work one day, it was the springtime, and I'm surrounded by these 4 gray walls. Now, I like my job, I've got a good job, I enjoy my job, but I'm surrounded by 4 gray walls all day, every day. And the sun was shining through the window in the springtime. And I remember sitting there at my desk, looking up from the computer going, I need to get outside. I need a reason to go outside. I need something to pull me outside on a regular basis. There just has to be a change. And in my mind, I went through all sorts of different options and activities, and nothing really struck my fancy. And then I thought about hunting. And I really thought about it. I really pondered it for a while, over the course of a couple days and weeks. And I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to hunt ever since I was a kid. I always wanted to do it, but never had the opportunity, never had an easy way to start. Number 2, I go to church in a really rural area. There's a lot of folks around that do hunt or have family members that hunt. And I thought this would be a great way, not just to have something to talk about, but something to do with people. An activity that I can connect with. I thought that would be cool. And then number 3, I thought, you know what? As a father, or soon to be father at that point, I was like, what am I going to pass on to my kids? What am I going to be able to share with them? What kind of activities are they going to see me doing as they grow up and then want to join me in, and things I can share with them and spend time with them and pass down? And I had nothing. And I thought, you know what? If I get started hunting now, by the time my kids are old enough to hunt, I should be pretty good at it, right? I should be, able to at least go out and do something with them and have a good time. So I pondered all these things and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. How hard can it be? Oh man, I'm glad I didn't ask that question seriously, because it was way harder than I thought it was going to be. See, I knew nobody. I had nothing. I figured, okay, you got to get a hunting license or something, I'm sure, right? There's got to be something. So I figured out, yep, you do need a hunting license. How do you get that hunting license? Well, first, you need to take a hunter safety course. Okay, makes sense. Safety's good. Well, how do you do that? Well, that's not so simple. I had to work through a series of websites that were so hokey they didn't look official. I had to find a place that wasn't even on the map, didn't exist on Google, wasn't on planet Earth in any way, shape, or form that I could find except on the Hunter Safety Course test website. Of course, you couldn't take the test online. Now, there were lots of people selling online tests, but none were recognized by the state of Pennsylvania. Today you can. Today there are real online tests, but there weren't in those days. So I finally found a place, drug one of my buddies with me, and sat in a room of 11-year-olds with their parents over the course of a full day and learned how to not kill myself or someone else in the woods, which was good information. It was helpful. But there was nothing about how to hunt. There should have been a day 2. Day 1's hunter safety. Day 2 is, hunter education. How do you actually do this? But I didn't have that. I had nothing. So I left there, bought my first hunting license, got an orange hat for like $5 and said, okay, I've got an orange hat. Now I can hunt woodchucks. I could do something. But I didn't know where to start. And man, did I work at it. I just was trying to do everything I could to figure, okay, where can you hunt? What do you need to hunt there? I'm on Google Maps. I'm looking at the Game Commission's website and their maps. And at that time, especially, their maps were not very good. And I'd zoom up on this little fuzzy map and try to figure out where one thing started and another ended. And I get on Google and try to double check it. And I was running out of time. Just running out of time. The fall's ticking away. Eventually, I had nothing to go on. And my wife has a couple uncles that hunt. And one of them said, hey, well, I'll take you out for your first day. I said, score, let's go. So we went. I got out of his pickup truck. It's dark outside. I'm wearing sneakers, right? I'm tennis shoes because I didn't have any boots. I never had a reason ever to own a pair of boots. I didn't even know where you could buy boots. I'm wearing a pair of like dark colored khaki work pants. I've got a $25, $30 Walmart jacket that's orange that I bought. It wasn't a coat. It wasn't a parka. It was a thin jacket that is not insulated or very warm at all with a sweatshirt underneath. But hey, I'm in the woods. And I remember climbing up that hill before dawn. I had this rifle over my shoulder that was made in 1945 Bulgaria, which I should have left stock, but of course in my ignorance, I just dressed it up and put all kind of stuff on it. Aftermarket parts and bipod mounts and aftermarket stock and a big 2-pound scope and brackets and all sorts of things. This thing weighed 12 pounds and was 62 inches long. Okay, 12 pounds. I could not shoulder the gun for more than 5 or 10 seconds. And even during that 5 or 10 seconds, I was so wobbly, I couldn't do anything with it anyway. So without a rest to lean it against, I was almost useless. But I'm hunting. I'm in the woods, and I was ecstatic. I was so excited. I was so pumped. We get to the top of this hill. My uncle puts me in this tree stand. Of course, I'm afraid of heights, right? Especially at this point. I'm looking up into the tree stand. I'm like, oh, no. But I'm hunting. So I got this rifle. So I get up in the tree stand. I'm sitting up there, sit down on that metal grate. No pad, no nothing, no seat, no cushion. Just hurts to sit on this thing. But I'm hunting, right? I'm waiting any minute now. The dawn's going to come. Deer are going to be everywhere. Well, it's the second week of rifle season. It's doe season. All the bucks at this point have been shot, spooked, or bedded down. But, of course, I didn't have a doe license. I didn't know you needed a doe license. I didn't know how to get a doe license. And even once I found out, I was months late, and it's very complicated. So I got almost no chance, right? And, of course, no deer come out. I can't really say for sure, though, that there weren't any deer around because I couldn't sit for more than maybe half hour to an hour before I had to stand up because my rear end hurt so much from this metal grate that I was sitting on with this thin, cheap pair of pants. And then I couldn't last much longer than that before I had to climb down, walk around the tree stand to warm up because I'm wearing basketball shoes, which are made to be breathable. And then I'd climb back up in and sit down and be quiet for a couple minutes until it hurt to sit. And it was a disaster, right? There was no chance other than, just the most fleeting possibility I might see or shoot a deer. But man, I was excited. I didn't know anything that I was doing wrong, and I was having a great time. Eventually, I had to climb down and just take a walkabout on the property because it was so cold I couldn't sit anymore. And we ended up leaving at around 11 or 12, got home for lunchtime, and saw, nothing shootable. But at the same time, I was pumped. I was stoked. Now, I didn't even go out that day with a backpack, right? I didn't have a hunting backpack, mostly because I didn't know what you'd put in a hunting backpack. I didn't own anything I would put in a hunting backpack. You say, well, what would you have done if you shot a deer? I have no idea. No clue what I would have done. I didn't know how to field dress a deer, didn't have a knife to field dress a deer. Well, where would you take the deer after you field dress? I didn't know. I had no clue in the world. I figure hopefully my uncle has some idea and we'd figure it out together. But I had no idea what I was doing. But I was so excited. I was hooked. I went home and I was hooked. I was all in. I was like, okay. At that point, all my focus had been on how do we get to hunt? How do we get into the woods? Now I had to shift my focus into how do we actually get animals? How do we hunt well? What strategy? What do you need to do? What was I doing wrong? So I began to try to figure that out, and I had no easy way to do it. I didn't know people. I didn't have any great contacts, so I started to study. I started to read. I started to research. I started to watch videos. And I don't mean I just read 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 books. I didn't just read, 10 or didn't watch 10 YouTube videos or even 100 or 200 YouTube videos. I was all in. I was focusing. I was reading magazine articles. I started contacting authors of the books that I'd read, asking them follow-up questions that I had after finishing the books, and building some relationships with some of those guys, and finding other people who were in my universe who had some experience, and I could learn a little bit from them. So I started to build my knowledge base a little bit by little. Well, actually, it was a lot by a lot in deer hunting, and then I started focusing on turkey hunting, and then I started looking at pheasant hunting, and I started looking at predator hunting and dove hunting and woodchuck hunting, and on and on and on, just expanding and learning and growing and getting into the field and practice what you learn and get experience and bring game home and put it on the table and just appreciate every aspect of hunting. So the more I did that, the more I was growing and enjoying the sport. I was having a great time. And I thought, man, it's going to be so much easier for my kids to learn this because they won't have to go through it the hard way like I did. And full disclosure, if I knew at the beginning how hard it was going to be, just to find a place to hunt, let alone how to hunt, I never would have done it. I was not up to the challenge that was before me, but I didn't know the challenge was as big as it was. Thankfully, that sort of unfolded little by little over time, and I didn't have to tackle that mountain all at once because I would have just walked away from it. I would have said, this isn't worth it. This is too hard. I don't know where to start. I can't figure this out. It's not worth the energy, and I would have walked away. But thank God I didn't do that. I pushed forward, and as I met one challenge, then I addressed that one, and met another one and addressed that one. But I thought this is going to be so much easier for my kids because I could just teach them and walk them through it. And then I thought, you know what? There needs to be a better way out there for people. So I started the New Hunter's Guide podcast. And I made it the podcast that I wish I would have had when I started hunting. I started at level 0 because when I was trying to learn, all the guys that were on great podcasts and great YouTube channels, they weren't at level 0. They were way over my head. They were talking about stuff way beyond where I was at. I was trying to find the cheapest pair of boots I could afford that could somehow get me through a day of hunting without my feet going numb and me having to call it quits early. I was trying to figure out, the simplest of questions. What kind of rifle should I buy to replace this 1945 Bulgarian thing? What should I do to, what kind of gloves should a person buy for hunting? I think I was wearing like work gloves that I couldn't even pull a trigger and I would have had to take my glove off in order to take the shot. And I just didn't know what I was doing. So I'm at level 0. So years later, I start the podcast at level 0. Just the basics of the basics. Hunter safety course, how to find a place to hunt, how to find public land. Once I'd found all the different map apps that could show you exactly where public land was and who owned private land and how to get a hold of people, things changed dramatically for me. But I didn't know those existed at first. So I just start at the very basics. How do you pick a gun? How do you get boots? How can you jerry-rig your way through your first couple hunts or your first couple years so you don't spend a ton of money? Because I didn't have some big budget. When I bought a pair of boots, which was one of my first purchases, that put me on a spending freeze with hunting gear for a while. Because that was all the budget that I had for a season. I didn't have all this money. So I thought there's got to be ways to do this and teach people how to do it to where they don't have to just pour all this money in, that they can still have fun, that they can still be successful, getting back to the basics. And then amazing things started to happen. I started to get testimonies that flooded in. of people that they wanted to hunt all their lives. Then they found the podcast and they listened to all the episodes. They listened at that point, maybe 100 episodes, 130 episodes. And they decided they were going to do it. They were going to go for it. They were going to make it happen. And they pushed through and they did what I said to do. They figured out the gear. They followed my advice. They found a spot. They did their scouting. They picked their location. They went out there, shot at a first deer their first day. Shot a second deer their second day. And just stories flooding in. People that gone out turkey hunting and never had any success. Took 3 gobblers in one season. All kinds of things like this. And you might think, well, how do you keep a podcast like that going for years? Well, I don't just rehash the same things every year. As I grow, the show grows, and the people following the show grow. And, we talk about deer hunting every fall, but it's what am I learning? What new questions are coming in that I've not answered before? And as I up my game and I get more experience, then I up the level a bit. So people grow or have been growing with the show. They started out at level 0. They made it to level 1. Now every year they're coming up another level with the new episodes that are coming out and for all different kinds of game. And then people encourage me and said, George, you got to get on YouTube. There's more people there. You can help more people. You can reach more people. You can do more. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's find a way. Let's make it happen. So then we started the YouTube channel. And I want to encourage you guys right now, whatever kind of game you're looking to hunt, maybe you've never hunted anything. Maybe you've hunted something for years, but you want to hunt something else. Whatever is on your horizon, whether it's deer, turkey, ducks, grouse, pigeons, put it in the comments below. Let me know what you would like to see episodes about. I've got a plan. I've got a list. I know what I want to do, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what's on your heart. So put it in the comments below what you want to hunt, what you want more information about hunting on. And of course, you can go check out the podcast at my website, newhuntersguide.com, or anywhere where you download podcasts. It's the New Hunter's Guide. There's about 150 episodes at this point, and that's just growing. That's just increasing. And of course, even if you stumble on this video years from when it's shot, put it in the comments below. What do you want to learn more about? What do you want more videos about for hunting? Because I'll keep checking them. I'll keep looking at them. I'll keep adding questions and comments to my list. Whatever questions you have, whatever notes you have, maybe you want to tell your story of how you got started. Put it in the comments. When I started looking at this hunting thing and I realized, you know what, this is bigger than just walking through the woods with a firearm. It's bigger than walking through the woods with a bow. It's bigger than killing animals. What I learned was this thing is really about getting outside and in seeing and enjoying God's creation. Seeing the animals that God made, seeing how they live and how they work and learning their habits, learning their routines, learning what they do, learning how they live and what you need to do to be in the right place at the right time to have a chance at them. I never appreciated wildlife the way I do now after hunting. Once you take a deer and you put your hand on that animal and you realize where it's been and what it's done and what you had to do to get to the point where you could be in this position, where you could harvest that animal and bring that thing home and put that meat on the table, it just changed my perspective. There's so much out there, somebody's got to see it. There's too many mornings where you've got sunlight shining through the clouds at dawn, shining through mist coming up off the ground, glistening off of dew on the leaves and on the branches and on all sorts of things, and just seeing that shimmer and that glow and that shine as the woods wake up and come alive, and you start hearing turkeys gobble, and you start hearing birds chirp, and you start hearing all the sounds of life and nature as the woods wake up around you. Somebody needs to be experiencing that, and it should be you. It needs to be you. You need to be out there. Somebody's got to be out there soaking that in. It's a blessing. It's amazing. It's encouraging. It's inspiring. And man, it just brings peace to the inside of you, at least in my experience, to be outside and to see everything happening, to see the sun on the water as it comes up and ducks start to fly in. It's just amazing the beauty that's out there. It's amazing the wildlife, and it's amazing to bring food home and put it on your table and it be legitimately delicious. I don't just mean you got to stir it up and pretend like it's good. I mean, you learn how to field dress it. You learn how to butcher it. You learn how to prepare it, how to store it, how to cook it. So it is, culinarily speaking, delicious. And of course, I've gone into that on the podcast, and I plan to do more of that via video and help you guys come up to that level as well, those that are interested in it. So I want to encourage you, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and find my podcast, The New Hunter's Guide. If you want to move further faster, there's literally 150 episodes waiting for you. By the time you find this, might be 200 or 300 episodes there. So, there's so many resources. You have it easier to learn how to hunt, to expand your hunting than I ever did. You have more resources available to you than I ever did because you have the New Hunter's Guide. You've got the podcast I wish I would have had. You've got the YouTube channel I wish I would have had to help me go from level 0 into the woods and having fun, being effective, and being successful. So that's what I'm here for. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Please help me do whatever you can to get this content and this channel and this podcast into more people's hands. The only way to grow the sport, and in some ways preserve it and save it, is by sharing the tradition, by sharing the joy, by sharing the knowledge, and helping other people come in and thrive and enjoy it as well. So till next time, God bless you guys. I appreciate you, and go get them in the woods.